Well, hello, folks. Welcome to CSS Nation. My name is Harry Mullen, and my co-host is Pernell Husband. How you doing, Pernell?
I'm doing very well, Harry. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. And before we get started with the show and introduce our guests, I just want to remind you all that you can find us on YouTube at Central Sterilization Solutions. And if you enjoy the show, be sure to push the like button and subscribe. And you can also find our show on the different podcasts like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. All right. Our next guest is the new president-elect Marjorie Wall. And I'm going to go ahead and bring her into the studio. How are
Hey
you,
guys.
Marjorie?
I'm
Hi,
great.
Marjorie.
How are you guys? Happy Saturday.
Happy
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sabado.
Happy Saturday to you too.
Thanks for
And
coming on.
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here to talk to you guys. I'm big fans. I know people that have gone through your schools. I've known Harry, all the work you've done in the industry. Pernell, oh my God, you're a rock star. So I'm definitely excited to be here to talk to you guys.
We're so happy to have you on. So first of all, I'd like to say congratulations are again in order for two things. First, I just want to talk a little bit about ISHM, our professional organization, and the great diversity that they have displayed in our leadership over the past few years. I want to say is an example. And in that continuation of diversity that ISHM has always been famous for in its leadership, we bring you the first millennial and youngest ever president-elect, Marjorie Wall. Thank you for coming on and congratulations.
Yay. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Thank you so much, Pernell. Honestly, it's so humbling. There have been some amazing leaders, and I'm still just really humbled and blessed for this chance to be able to work with ISHM and be a voice of the industry. So I'm excited, and I'm excited to talk to you guys. So yes.
Awesome. So, our members, and we represent what is it, Harry? Who are we representing? CSS Nation.
Nation, yes.
Central Sterilization Solutions Nation. And they have some questions for you, just a few questions. One of the first questions is, I guess they want to know a little bit about the new president-elect. Who are you outside of work? What do you like to do?
So
Do you have hobbies?
Hobbies. So I am a little bit of a nerd. So I game. I play Diablo 3 all the time. WoW, like different computer games. I do VR gaming as well. I have a son who is just amazing. He is high functioning autistic and a major nerd, loves D&D, role playing. He's trying to get into cosplaying, which is exciting, which I help him with, which is also a lot of fun, just so we're clear. And
and very millennial, I might add.
Don't keep throwing my age. Don't make me self-conscious now.
You're good.
You're good. And then, honestly, I'll be honest, the thing that takes the most amount of my time these days is school. So I am pursuing my doctorate right now. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea to start that during a pandemic, but school takes up way more than my time than it should. But yes.
Yeah, awesome. So gadgets, games, cosplay. Yep, I like it, H. Good
Right there.
hobbies.
Well, let me ask you this. So tell us about how you started in sterile processing and where it brought you to today.
That's a great question. So I started at a hospital, Athens Regional Hospital in Georgia, and I started in dietary working the grill on graveyard shift. Graveyard people need to eat too, just so we're clear. I was a student at the University of Georgia, and one of my friends from high school was working in sterile processing. So she was like, "Hey, you come over. We need a weekend tech. This is gonna be your weekend job while you're in school." And I was like, "Okay." Had no idea what I was getting into, like zero idea what I was getting into. So I went into that job, and if I could just share a story real quick about kind of
Sure.
how that happened, because it kind of defined who I was. This story. So if I could share that, it'd be great.
Absolutely.
So I started off as a weekend tech, and my boss, who is phenomenal, made a decision that was probably not phenomenal back then, but she is phenomenal. She put me working on the weekend after just a few weeks of training. I didn't go to school. I wasn't certified. I had no background experience. I knew nothing about OR sterile processing, came in off the streets, well, out of dietary. That weekend, if you guys remember the DHS and these trays, I cleaned those trays that weekend. We had 2 hip cases. Do you remember those guide pins that go through the reamer?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know they were there. So I didn't take them out in decon. I didn't catch it in assembly. So they were sterilized with that guide pin in the reamer, right? So the next Monday, the OR had more hip cases, and the doctor went to push the guide pin in, and the worm of bioburden came out, right? As well as the guide pin, the old one. And it was every single tray. And a patient was asleep on the table, right? So I harmed that patient, right? I harmed that patient. And I was this like 18-year-old fresh out of high school, had no idea what I was doing in this field. And my boss called me in her office and said, "You know what, Marjorie, if you weren't brand new, you would be fired right now. Everyone in the OR wants you fired. The doctors want you fired. They've gone to administration. You know, what happened was unacceptable, but we didn't train you." Right? So she took me back, put me through remedial training. And that moment, that impact, how I impacted that patient negatively, it just sealed into my brain that that's something that can't happen again. So I've built a career from that moment of improving sterile processing, supporting sterile processing, and doing what we need to do through education and process improvement to make sure that no person is ever set up to fail like that again, that our people are set up for success and patients get safe care every time. So I know that's not exactly what you were asking me, Harry, but that's how I got into sterile processing. It's what's driven me to build the career that I've driven. And, you know, I started in dietary, became a tech, worked my way up to director now. But every step I've taken has gone back to that moment and to making sure our patients are safe.
Well, you know, speaking of being, you know, a director, I know that prior to winning the election for president-elect, you were on the board of directors for ISHM. So what led you to, you know, to run and be on the board? That was it 2 years ago you ran, I believe?
Yeah.
So what guided you to join the board?
Sure. So I started, so I've been, like I said, working in departments, built a career in turning departments around. A few years ago, probably 2016, 2017, I started feeling a pull to become a voice because, you know, me making my impact in my hospital was great, but every time I went to a new department, anytime I toured a department, anytime I surveyed a department or consulted on a department, I kept seeing the same problems everywhere. Everyone's dealing with these same operational challenges, the lack of resources, the lack of support, the lack of investment, and the lack of knowledge for how to get those things, that it drove me to start building the brand of Lead SPD, right? I started doing a lot of social media posting, a lot of LinkedIn posting. I started participating in the California chapter. I was a member at large with them, volunteered with them, helped them with their social media and some other projects. But, you know, during that process, I really felt this, it's almost an ethical need to be able to help our industry get better. So if people aren't going to step up, I'm going to step up. And I want to step up to help us be recognized as the professionals that we are, and to ensure that we have the support and resources that we need to be successful in the industry. And that's something I can do on the ISHM board of directors that I'm not able to do just at my hospital.
Now, I would say thank you for sharing, first of all, that powerful story of how you entered the world of sterile processing. And in that difficulty, what you were going through at that time, which must have been awful, right? It sparked something, right? Out of the fire comes strength, right? And it's so interesting. That story can probably be applied to hundreds of people, right? Didn't have the appropriate training, just kind of got thrown into the situation. I think just having that kind of experience is so powerful because it's so real and it's so SPD and it is so what we are all fighting against. So I really just wanted to, thank you for sharing that story. Go ahead, Harry.
You ran for the board of directors 2 years ago, and then just recently you decided to run for president-elect. Why? Why the president-elect? What led you to that?
So,
Because of that story. She's on a journey, man.
Pernell, it's like, you know me. No. So we've been doing some really big things on the ISHM board of directors the last few years. And, there were great people working on it even before then. Are you guys familiar with how the bylaws changed in 2018?
I have
remember when the bylaws changed.
Degree of knowledge about that, but
A little bit.
please enlighten us. Let's review it for our audience because we know.
So let's talk about that. So prior to 2018, in order to run for those positions for the ISHM board of directors, you had to be a chapter rep. Did you know that?
Yeah. I did know that. Chapter rep.
Know that. Yep. So that means you had to be, that elected rep at your local chapter. And so it was fewer than 100 people in the industry that were eligible to be on the ISHM board of directors.
Small group, yeah.
Yep. When ISHM's 40,000 people, right? And it was this one small group. And it was a very tight clique group, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So one of the things that happened in 2018 was they changed the bylaws, which changed the structure of the board of directors. So when that happened, they created these new board of director positions and the secretary position that if you are a member of ISHM, you are eligible to run for office. Okay.
Just a member.
Just a member. So prior to 2018, I would have not been eligible to run for election for the board of directors, yet along the presidency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So after 2018, when this happened, we've had 9 board of directors that were elected that would have never been able to be elected before 2018, which is really exciting. And they're really great, dynamic people. And so these are people from across the country that are coming into this board to be a voice for our industry, to increase that professionalism, to be advocates for our industry and doing the right thing and getting us the tools, support, resources we need to do what we need to do, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to 2018, it was this small group. Now it's this big group that's way more representative of our membership, right? So to get back to your question, Harry. So after this changed, to run for president, the requirement is you have to be an ISHM member, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you had to have served on the ISHM board of directors,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So I was eligible to run because I had served for those 2 years prior, which was awesome. The reason why I chose to run for president, though, is because the work we did, the strategic vision, some of the committees and projects that are going to be rolling out this year that we kind of designed last year, they're going to be industry changing. They're going to be amazing, and everyone is going to be so excited about it. And those announcements are going to be coming out very soon. And so I really am excited to be in the board and in a leadership position of the board to kind of help with that consistency and that vision of ISHM's future, representing our membership to keep helping that move forward. So I'm excited to have that opportunity and to be able to be that voice for our members to make sure that these strategic changes that we're implementing really are what the membership wants. So I know I said a lot there. I'm sure there's a lot to unpack, but that's kind of what it is.
Well, yeah, it's already unpacked. You're on a mission, and I like your mission, and I like where this is going. I mean, having that continuity, being in the developmental stages and talking about these things and what the impact you want to have, and to kind of, be able to continue shepherding things along in your new capacity. Yeah, that makes complete sense to me, continuity there.
Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break for one of our sponsors. We'll be right back, folks. Well, we're back. I just wanted to thank Tara Jean for that nice commercial. One of the things that I want to let people know is that they're currently going through FDA approval for a 7-second biological. So it's unheard of. So immediate use steam sterilization is going to definitely be immediate use. So anyways, back to the show here. I want to thank Marjorie Wall, our current president-elect, or that as of today is our president-elect of ISHM. Thank you, and again, welcome to the show.
Congratulations once again. And again, folks, she is the first millennial and the youngest president-elect ever for ISHM, Marjorie Wall. And that's a big deal. We dig it. We see your vision, and we're right here with you to support you all the way, Marjorie. We're fans.
Yeah.
I have a question about the local chapters. Do you feel like, first of all, when you were on the board for those 2 years, were there discussions about ensuring that the local chapters are doing everything that they possibly could to help the members out?
Sure. So a couple of things to keep in mind. The chapters are affiliates with ISHM, so we don't have direct control, but there are things that they have to do to maintain that relationship with ISHM. And so every year they have to go through a process where they submit their packages demonstrating what they've done. And that's what they have to do to continue maintaining that relationship with ISHM. This last year, though, or the last 2 years, were really unique in that a lot of our chapters, and not just ISHM chapters, but a lot of associations, not just in our industry, but in every industry, were really challenged with not being able to do in-person meetings, not being able to do conferences, right? Everybody had to learn to go remote and online really quick, really fast, without like any hand holding. So one of the big things that we did work on for the chapters during this process was getting some resources for them to help them transition to online as much as they needed to. So we did share some new technology with the chapters a few months ago, or several months ago, that they're able to use that ISHM pays for in order to kind of help them with that transition. And we do have our chapter committee, and we meet with them routinely, and we work with them to try to help mentor and guide those new chapters, help even old chapters that have been around for a long time. Sometimes they need help mentoring and developing the next generation of leaders. So we work very closely with them to help them develop their board, their leadership team, and give them support or ideas and anything that we can do to help get them to support their membership.
Good answer. Do you think the current board of directors know or have a feel for what membership really wants?
So it's a tricky question. So if you remember before, like a few minutes ago, where I shared how the bylaws changed and the way we
Right.
elect people changed.
Mhm.
So the board we have today is more representative than any board we've had in the past, because our board today is representing all of our membership, whereas
Mhm.
the board in the past was this 100 people. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Mhm.
does. Uh-huh.
Kind of like a click.
It was a
Mhm.
lot like a click. I wasn't going to use
A
that word, Mary,
cadre.
but
A
yeah,
cadre.
it was, yes, it
A
was a lot like
junta.
that. But the other thing that's really changed, and I'm really excited about it, is that our world has changed. Where we have our techs that are really active on media like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and we have a lot of our techs and management leaders that are really active on LinkedIn. So our membership has more direct access to our board than they've ever had. I get probably I'm not going to quantify it. I get a lot of messages to my LinkedIn on the daily from people asking technical questions, ideas. How do I handle this situation as a leader? What do they need from ISHM? I get those routinely through my social media, and I love getting it because it enables me to stay connected to the membership, to be able to support them and make sure that I am representing what they're asking for. But before we move on from that question, the one thing that we do need from the membership is we need them to be involved. Okay. We often hear a lot of people that, they see this disconnect. There are those people that are responsible for it. Well,
Mhm.
it's our organization. We need people to serve on our committees, to be part of helping us develop test questions, educational materials, advocacy. We need people to step up to the plate and help us lead the organization to the future, to where we need it to go. And I think social media makes that more attainable than ever to build those connections. But we also need people to, really to join us and be a part of it.
I absolutely agree. I mean, to the people that have gotten into the arena, I salute them. People like yourself and
And,
other
and,
folks. We
and
salute them.
yourself, you're
Well,
doing it too. Thank you.
we're a little part of it, yeah.
Mhm.
But if you want to affect change, you have to be engaged
Mhm.
and you have to be involved. That can only help to get the change in place that you're looking for. So, really good advice, Harry.
Yeah. So, I mean, going on with what you had just stated, Marjorie, because I've been watching social media the last couple of weeks, and And I've seen where the discussion groups have been talking about where, the membership themselves don't feel that they are being properly represented on the board. Specifically, some of the younger generation, and we're not talking necessarily millennials, but people even younger than that. And as we all know, we need to attract the next generation because that's going to be a key factor in the viability of any association as it goes forward and being able to grow and stuff.
And
So,
I know she's going to knock that question out of the park, but I will remind you, she is the first millennial and youngest ever ISHM president-elect. This organization has some youth. Go ahead.
yeah.
Okay.
So it brings to my question is, what are your plans to draw these individuals into being more active with the board? What can they do locally and then eventually nationally?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer that, but before I do, I'm going to go into a cultural problem in the healthcare industry. You've heard OR nurses eat their young, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard that? Well,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a old surgical tech here. Yeah.
yes. SPD people eat their young, okay?
Sure must.
Yes, I myself, my personal experience when I first started trying to get involved in associations, I got a lot of pushback because I was new, and not just my age, but because I was the new person at the table, right? Our new employees, when they come into our departments, and we see this across the industry, right? The people that have been there forever, oh, we've done it this way forever. We don't want to hear your new ideas, right? Or we have to I don't want to use the word haze, but kind of haze them, right? So we have these new techs that come in, they're excited. They just got their credentials. They got their 400 hours. They're ready to get in there and do what they've learned, be a part of making it better, being a part of the solution. And they just get beat down by the old guard, right? And I'm not saying the old guard's totally wrong, right? New people have to come in and be able to hear them and listen from them and learn from them as well. But it's a problem, and we need to fix that problem as an industry, right? As humans, we need to get.
Have we acknowledged that that is a cultural trait, a fatal one? Have we acknowledged that, or?
Well, I am definitely acknowledging it right now.
All right. Okay. I'm just saying the newly elected president-elect has acknowledged, that we have some cultural flaws. Go ahead.
Many.
Absolutely. And those cultural flaws just aren't in the hospital. They translate into the associations, right? So ISHM has done a lot of work since 2018 to make our board very engaging, very welcoming. Our committees are very engaging, very welcoming. The chapters, they need to work on that as well. Our hospitals throughout the country, not my personal hospital, because I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking in general, the universal, we need to work on that to make our hospitals more welcoming for new people, no matter what their age, right? And then this young generation, and believe me, it's hard for me to not be the young generation anymore. I'm still psychologically processing that I'm not the youth anymore.
Right.
But we need to be welcoming to these people to encourage them to step up. They have such a strong voice for advocacy, no bullying, doing the right thing, improving patient safety. We need to lean into that and hear them and give them that voice and work with them to hear us and build that unity and that partnership. And through that kind of engagement, that's how we're going to bring them to the table to get them to start stepping up into leadership roles, into article writing, social media work, everything we need to do to hear their voice. We need their voice. It has
Absolutely.
to happen. So it's something I feel passionately about, and it's something that we're definitely going to make some moves on. We want to hear all of our members, and we definitely want to hear that youth experience. And we don't want to lose track of our long-term people either. We just need to find a way to be united and together and to hear each other.
Yeah, that energy of youth is contagious, and an organization with no new ideas is, an old organization. So,
Totally. Well said.
Well, real quick, we're going to take a break for news you can use with Solyndra.
Welcome to the news with Ion Sterile Processing. My name is Solyndra Bearfield. The news is brought to you today by Harvard Business Review. Manage a top performer who isn't a team player. Having a supremely talented and confident employee is a wonderful thing, except, of course, if that person is alienating their colleagues. How can you help this dominant personality improve their relationship? For starters, you need to provide some tough feedback. Be honest about how they're being perceived and explain the consequences of their behavior. Say something like, in order to live up to your talent, you need to consider how you might be standing in your own way. Next, encourage them to develop more empathy and consider their colleagues' perspective and viewpoints. You might say, what matters to this person? What is their biggest concern? How can you find common ground with them? Your objective is to foster their social and self-awareness. Don't expect your efforts to yield immediate responses. Behavior changes take time. Encourage your employees to be patient as well, with themselves and with others. Thank you for listening to the news. If you want more news, you can find me on Facebook at Sterile Processing Grapevine. You guys go out there, continue to be great, and you have a wonderful day.
Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the show here. So I just wanted you to kind of reiterate some of the things that you had said. So my final question would be, how is it that the membership can help you make our association better? So what specific things can we each do in order to be helpful?
Yeah. So I got a list for you, but I'm going to tell you where to start. Educate yourself, whether that is certifications, whether it's continuing education, whether it's an associate's, bachelor, master's, doctoral level degree. Educate yourself and become a voice for your department, for your teams in your hospital. Work on building those relationships with the OR, with your surgeons, with all of those people, because that growth in professionalism is going to grow into our industry being better representative and recognized by administration, which is what's going to give us our resources, right? So
absolutely,
everyone should be working on educating themselves and growing and developing, not just being comfortable with where they're at in life. But when we come to ISHM itself, we really need people to step up into volunteer roles, into committees, into article writing, social media writing. We need to hear those voices and have those new perspectives. So if you have an idea, we want to hear it. If you want to write an article, we want to take a look at it. So, don't be afraid to, step up, get out of your comfort zone and try something different to get your voice out there. I'm going to share something that my old boss, the one back from Georgia, back in
Athens.
I was about to say the year, but I've already aged myself enough. What she shared with me when I was getting ready to move to California from Georgia, sometimes you have to take a leap and build your wings on your way down. Okay? You can't be scared to take a risk and to invest in yourself and develop yourself to be successful in that risk, right? That's how we're all going to get better, and we're all going to achieve what we think we can't. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Good, sound advice. Educate yourself, become a voice, become an advocate for your department and the folks that you're working with. Build those relationships, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. There was a book written several years ago by a very smart man. Harry may remember his name. Yeah, him. Was it Covey? How to make friends and influence people. It's through
Okay.
relationships. And so I think good, sound advice from the president-elect: educate yourself, become a voice, and continue to foster and build good, solid relationships. Good advice.
Also, we touched about on this show about the culture, and there's just so many things in the sterile processing culture that needs to change, that we need to focus on. And by educating yourself, by advancing yourself, and being that voice for your department, for patient advocacy, is going to go a long way in helping to change the culture. So we really need
Absolutely.
to do that. So again, folks, this is Marjorie Wall, our brand new president-elect, friend of mine, and I'm just so happy for you, Marjorie, that you won the election. So congratulations again, and
Thank
thank
you,
you for
guys.
coming on the show.
Thank you guys so
Abs-
much for having me. You guys are awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your passion, your foresight, and thank you for being on with us. And we look forward to great things out of Marjorie Wall.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
you're welcome. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, another show done. What did you think about our guest there, Pernell?
Well, Marjorie is the first millennial and youngest president-elect ever in our organization, ISHM. And she is to be congratulated. She's on a
Absolutely.
mission, right? She's on a
Yeah, I
mission.
think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about that. And I wish her nothing but the best. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. One of the things that I got from this show is the fact that because of the changes of the bylaws, to answer some questions that I saw out there in social media
Yeah,
about the younger generation, that you don't have to be a chapter representative to run on the board. You just have to be a member of ISHM. So
absolutely.
all of you new people in the field, or let's say the last 10 years. So if you're younger than a millennial, being on the board is definitely an opportunity for you. And so I challenge you to take up that opportunity and to accept the challenge and stuff.
Yeah,
So
stop talking about it and be about it. And if there are issues that you have concerns with as far as the organization goes, there are several ways of talking directly to the folks at ISHM. I would say start out in your local chapters, talk to your fellow members, and you can write letters, you can send emails. If you have specific questions, engage. Engage with the
absolutely.
ISHM leadership.
Well, with that said, Pernell, any final words?
Yep, we'll be back.